Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Cousins gets rid of it. Thielen makes a move, and he's in for the touchdown. Cousins over the middle, caught for the touchdown. Justin Jefferson throws it up for Jefferson. He's got it, and he is in. Touchdown, Minnesota. Greg Joseph to win it. He's got it. Vikings a winner.
All right, let's waste no time here. Mackie and Judd, daily Minnesota sports, entertainment, therapy, sometimes loathing. Judd, you lead us off here. What's your first statement on a Statement Monday here, Mackie and Judd?
Statement number one for this Monday. A month ago, the Vikings don't win the game that they won on Sunday. A month ago, they blow that game. They offensively get scared and conservative. They defensively just flat out aren't great. Like that's not a bold take. This team defensively is okay, probably at best, which is fine. I mean, they play well sometimes. They don't play well sometimes. But they do not win that game a month ago. There is no question in my mind they find a way to blow it. And then they're like, oh, woe is us. Late loss, another lamentable defeat. The Minnesota Vikings, we work so hard and don't get our just rewards. But if you look at the game plan that this team in particular has used really the past 2 weeks, and you look at the willingness that they have to go back to the air, even after what looked to be mistakes, and the reliance that they have put on a certain kid who wears number 18, who is phenomenal. He's not good. He's phenomenal. I've got another statement about him. But, yeah, they flat out do not win. They lose that game. That Rodgers finds a way to dagger them, as opposed to the fact that Kirk Cousins daggered the Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
And I'm not sure they take a 2-touchdown lead that they blew. Like, they definitely blew a 2-touchdown lead, and I think they've blown they've had 2-touchdown leads in 4 of the games, and they're 2-2 in those games or something like that. So a 2-touchdown lead isn't safe, but like you'd rather have a 2-touchdown cushion because you were aggressive, giving you some room for the Aaron Rodgers comeback so that when it happens, the game is still either tied or within reach, and then you can just go back down. So being aggressive early in that game and maintaining while they let up a little in the second quarter, but it instead of being down by 10 when the Aaron Rodgers comeback happens, Rodgers is now fighting to tie the game, and now you have a perfect chance to win it, and that's how it played out.
Just a small thing, but a month ago, Greg Joseph misses the PAT. You go for 2. I guarantee you that play, run up the middle to Dalvin, and he gets stuffed. He doesn't get the 2. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get the 2. That was a different play call. Like the outside, the edge was not set. Like that's a different mentality. That's a different mindset. That is how far this team has just, I don't know, miraculously the offensive genius fairy came down and sprinkled dust on the Vikings, and now things have just changed. But that's how much things have changed with this team.
That was the offensive common sense fairy, actually. Not even the genius fairy.
Here's just a sprinkle of offense. Oh, thank you.
What? Is that what the fairy sounds like? All right, Declan, your first statement.
All right, my first statement is Kirk, keep taking your shots. Not victory shots, which I'm sure we're going to hear from Randy in Cottage Grove here momentarily. But Kirk, keep taking your shots down the field. 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, consistently targeting Justin Jefferson. This is exactly the kind of Kirk we wanted. The check down Charlie that I think died in Baltimore, I hope. I think the check down Charlie is no longer here with Kirk Cousins. I want him to take more shots down the field. And this note, too, from our friend of the show, Eric Eager. Kirk Cousins had 5 turnover-worthy plays in the last 2 weeks. He had 6 in the previous 8 games combined. Obviously, it's not good to have those, but it's also a sign that he's being aggressive and pushing the ball down the field, which is exactly what we wanted to see from Kirk. And the turnover-worthy plays, we don't want to have a situation where he's consistently putting the team in bad situations, but just looking even at his statistics, pushing the ball down the field from next-gen stats, he had 8 passes of at least 15 yards in that game. And as for a visual audience here, this is also from NFL next-gen stats, so if you can see, there's a bunch of situations where he pushed the ball down the field about 15-plus yards. hitting even a 40-yard bomb down the field. A lot of those balls were to Justin Jefferson. This is the exact kind of Kirk Cousins I want to see on a regular basis. So, Kirk Cousins, please keep taking your shots.
So, I have to ask this question here to you guys. How much different would the result of the game have been and the entire narrative if the jump ball he threw that was an interception that Savage sort of bobbled at the end, if Savage picks off that pass in the last 2 minutes and the Vikings never get the ball back? What would the talk be today?
I said this as soon as it appeared that the pass had been picked off. It was worth it. It's a good shot. It's a good shot. I've been so down on them for not being aggressive, and in particular in being aggressive to Jefferson, that my immediate reaction was that's not a great pass, but it was the right idea, and I applaud them for it. So the narrative, I don't know in this town. I don't know. But for me personally, I think I talked about this yesterday on Ventline. For me personally, if that's a short pass that gets tipped and picked off, I'm like, that was stupid. But if you're going to drive the ball down the field, sometimes it's not going to go right. And I'm to the point, I don't care.
Kirk was also under pressure a ton yesterday. It was the fourth consecutive game he was under pressure for 40% of his dropbacks. And he's still finding a ways to sling the ball. That's what's impressive to me.
There also is a case so Kirk is being coached here too, because Kirk talked in his post-game presser about the fact that he basically criticized himself and said, I took some shots. I mean, I'd rather not take those shots. I'd prefer to find a way. I mean, he talked about specifically the pass to Thielen where late in the game, Packers defensive back on the sideline got turned around, and it was a risky pass. Thielen catches it and gains huge yards. And Kirk's like, yeah, we're going to look at that route and see if there's different ways to possibly put that in a situation to be less risky. This all comes back to somebody is telling Kirk, or multiple people are telling Kirk, you have to throw the football. Like the stat that Dex just read, Kirk does not embrace. Like Kirk has not found the football god of let's take chances now because damn it. So definitely people have gotten to Kirk. I don't know if it's teammates, coaches, or a combination, and said, you have to do this. And the thing about it is, if Kirk trusts himself, guess what? He can be pretty successful.
All right, I got some more data here. This is going to be a data extravaganza. So we were kicking it around
like
on
nerd stuff.
I mean, if you want to call it nerdy, I'm going to call it common sense. Nerd! But we were kind of kicking around on Ventline yesterday. It felt like this was the most aggressively the Vikings just locked onto their three best weapons: Cook, Jefferson, Thielen. That you should take away plays to guys who aren't Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, and give those guys the ball more often. So here's my statement. When the Vikings feed the ball to their three best offensive weapons, they win. And the data backs it up. So I've spent some time this morning going through this. They are 3-1 in the 4 games that they target those three guys, either hand off or target those three guys, the highest percentage of the time. The only loss was the Cardinals game. And that was, they won that game. And Greg Joseph missed a 37-yard field goal. So the 4 games in which they have targeted those three guys, the highest percentage of total offensive plays, Jefferson, Thielen, Cook, are yesterday was the highest, 74%. The Cardinals game was the second highest. And that's a road game against one of the 3 best teams in the NFL. Full strength. And then the Chargers game and the Panthers game are the other 2, just under 70%. At the other end of the scale, the 3 games in which those guys were targeted the lowest percentage of the time were the Browns game. And Dalvin missed the week before, tried to come back. He kind of split carries with Madison, so he was kind of banged up, but the Browns game, only 51% of touches and targets went to those 3 guys. The Cowboys game and the Ravens game, probably the 3 most bang your head against the wall games of the season. The only 2 games I didn't put on here were the Lions and the Seahawks games in which Dalvin did not play. But how about that? So when they target those 3 guys the most, they're 3-1. They're 1 37-yard field goal away from being 4-0. And on the low end of the scale, they are 0-3, and it's the 3 most frustrating losses of the season. Your thoughts?
I I am not surprised one bit. That's exactly what I would expect. And the frustrating thing is, it's not rocket science. It's not like, yeah, but if you target those three all the time, teams are going to catch on and they're going to shut you down. No, they're not. No, they're not.
I'll say it again. 74% of offensive snaps went to those three guys yesterday.
Think about this. But think about think about how simple the formula is, okay? Justin Jefferson is a special talent. He's probably a top 5 guy right now. He's probably a top 5 wide receiver in the entire league, okay? So you're starting out with a special player, not a good player. Not like, oh, he's pretty good. No, he is special. That frees up whom? Thielen and potentially Osborne, if you so desire. Dalvin Cook now, because the pass is such a threat, it is not as likely to see guys in the box, because if he does, you can take shots. The formula here, I'm not explaining some Einstein formula of football. Well, I mean, Judd, I just don't understand that. How's that working? Literally what you're saying is rudimentary football analysis and game planning when you have a player. Like when I say Moss, do you say, can't throw to him too much?
No, teams are going to catch on to that guy.
Teams catch on to Randy Moss, and then they shut him down, and you're dead, So this is what I'm glad they've landed here. I know why in their minds they didn't, but I don't know why they didn't look at this and say, I would have looked at this in July or June, whatever, and been licking my chops, right?
It's almost like they either outsmarted themselves, they're 2 or 3 steps down the road unnecessarily. If teams are gonna counter and bracket Justin Jefferson, then we need to have this set of plays that counteracts it. It's like, Under no circumstances should you be trading Justin Jefferson targets for D.D. Westbrook targets or Tyler Conklin targets. Not that those guys can't get the ball ever, and you even see it it's kind of a fine line too, because so yesterday again it was 74% of targets went to those 3 guys, and that includes handoffs. And against the Cowboys, 56%, right? So it looks like a big gap, but it's really only a matter of a handful of plays throughout the course of a 3-hour game. It might literally be 1 play per quarter that you tweak from Alex Madison. Instead of you getting the ball, we're going to give the ball to Adam Thielen here. Instead of Tyler Conklin getting the ball here on a tight end screen, we're going to throw the ball 17 yards down the field to Justin Jefferson, let him run after the catch. It could be the difference between getting into field goal range or scoring a touchdown. 4 or 5 plays in a game. It's a thin margin. But the line is very clear. When the Vikings make a concerted effort to give those 3 guys the ball, they win. When they do, and that's regardless of how many points the defense gives up. Because there's some games in here where the defense only gave up 14 points to the Browns, but they didn't target those 3 guys, so they weren't as explosive offensively. So they only scored 7 points. Offense drives the results for this team. It's a different time than it was 4 years ago.
And it's very clear that among the people in this town, and there's lots of them who doubted Kirk, the reality is this: the biggest doubter of Kirk is Kirk himself. So I again come back. No, but Kirk doesn't want to take chances. Kirk is now being told you're throwing deep. Like this whole Zim thing of we hear, I told Kirk to throw deep and think Kirk's yeah, Zim, I'm going to throw deep. I'm telling you, go back and listen to that press conference and listen to him saying, we'd like to find ways around, some of my throws. I'd like to find ways. That's how Kirk thinks, okay? But what you got to tell Kirk is, dude, you've got the arm. You've got the ability to make those throws. And so one of the key starting points here is not just empowering Kirk, but Kirk's your employee. You tell Kirk exactly what Kirk is going to do, because he can do it.
And he loves that. He's I just work here guy. So yes. He wants you to tell him what to do. I'll 100%. Give you one more here. Just all right. So people think about when throwing the ball deep, right? It's always about 40-yard passes, and while those are great and they work, at least once per game, it feels like it works to Justin Jefferson. So Kirk's average depth of target coming into the game was 6.5 yards per throw in the air, which was bottom 3 in the NFL. It was the medium depth passes that carved the Packers 10 to 20 yards in the air yesterday. So not the deep bombs, 10 to 20 yards in the air. He was 7 for 7 for 165 yards and a touchdown.
Yes.
And so, like, it's not even about drop back and throw it 50 yards down the field. It's when I think throw deep, I think throw deeper than check down length, throw intermediate length,
20
throw
yards
12 yards.
Yeah, that's a
18
deep pass.
yards. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 yards is good.
All right. Back to Judd.
Okay, I want to actually make this statement as a shout out to a guy who now resides in Buffalo, New York, not Phil's hometown. And I just want to say thank you, Stefon. Without Diggs demanding a trade, he's still here. He's very good. But, and I have said this for a while now, but I think we can all agree he's not Justin Jefferson. He also carries salary cap hits in 2022 and 23 respectively of $17.5 and $17.6 million. Justin Jefferson, while he will get paid, is still on a rookie contract and allows you to do more around him because of said contract. But if Stefon doesn't melt down, and he had reason to, so I'm not saying that he was wrong, but if he doesn't melt down, you've got a very good player who's paid very, very well. Instead, you've got a great player who's on a rookie contract and who, by the way, and this could change, subject to change here, but as far as I can tell, is a good kid. Like, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
He doesn't complain publicly. He seems like he loves to play football a lot. He makes Moss-like catches. We owe a thank you to Stefon Diggs. Without Twitter and Stefon Diggs, he'd probably still be here.
Is there any chance they would have drafted Justin Jefferson while they still had Stefon Diggs? So they had a 3 deep? They probably wouldn't have, right?
0.
I mean, imagine having Stefon Diggs and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, but Mike Zimmer's head would have exploded. And all 3 of the receivers' heads would have exploded.
Rick Spielman would have done that. He probably would have traded if Jefferson. Well, wait. They got him with the Buffalo pick. No. He'd be gone by then. Buffalo probably would have taken him.
Yeah, they would have drafted.
Can you imagine that?
Interior defensive line.
I'll take Justin Jefferson.
I will too.
All right, Dex.
All right, my second statement, it's very simple. That's a shame. Oh, that's a shame.
Kirk Cousins gunning it.
No! Interception! Cousins gonna give you one! Cousins gonna give you one! Cousins gonna give you one!
Oh, where's the penalty? Where's the penalty? Is there a penalty? Is there a flag? Wow, that was incredible. You knew it was coming this game. You really did. I said it for the last 2 quarters. You knew Kirk Cousins was going to give one up. Get a little bit too crazy. Wow, incredible.
Oh, that's
do we have the
shame.
after? We don't have the
so
after.
we don't have the after because there is a lot of F-bombs from our friends at Cheesehead TV
wow.
that are in there, so I can't play it. Because a lot of people, I posted that clip on Twitter, my Twitter page yesterday, and people, it's like, what was the reaction when they actually figured out it was a penalty? There was a lot of F-bombs and a lot of other swear words that we can't play on this show. But that is the problem of and beauty, I should say, of doing things. It will do it live because you get reactions like that. And by the way, I love Cheesehead TV is an awesome program. I love what Nagler does. I think he's a great Packer fan. He kind of encapsulates a lot of what I like about the Green Bay Packers. I really do, because people think I'm the closet Packer fan. But those reactions and Vikings Packer week when it comes, which is in my opinion one of the best weekends on the Minnesota sports calendar year, and you get a situation like that,
well,
it's a
Cheesehead TV then took to Twitter after the game officially ended and said, "Congrats on your phony midseason Super Bowl win against an ultra depleted team, Minnesota. Plastic, borderline expansion, soulless franchise that only lives to try and beat the Packers once a year. Good for you. Enjoy it."
You like that? You like that?
I mean, I don't know what to say, man. Like,
Did they think that was a pick still? Like,
oh yeah,
that replay was very clear as day. That was not a pick.
it was a good break for the Vikings, obviously.
Yeah, it was a
should have
good
been
break.
pick.
I mean, but like both his knees are down, his elbows are down. The ball comes out afterwards. After that fact, though,
but you got to complete the catch. Like, there's no difference between a defensive back and a receiver there, and he
Gotta
didn't
survive-
complete the catch.
Got to
He
survive
didn't survive the ground.
Got to
Yeah.
survive the ground.
He-
I might
he just didn't
practice
complete it.
surviving the ground
He
this
should
week.
have.
Yeah.
He should have caught it, but he didn't.
A lot of ball game left.
All right, well, I'll piggyback off Declan here because my next statement is just quite simply, and I'll let Declan fire these off here, that it is hilarious when Packers fans lash out after losses and wait no longer. This is Packer Vent Line on Mackie and Judd.
And they lost.
Go, Pack, go!
Those 3 interceptions that Savage dropped,
Hurt
that's
us.
inexcusable. That's
Hurt us.
inexcusable, man. You're a starting safety in the league, and you're trying to make a bid to be a Pro Bowler or want to be, recognized as one of the great safeties or a good safety in the league. You gotta grab that ball. Period. I'm driving, this coming from work, and I hear an interception. I'm thinking the game. Oh, we got it. Next thing you know, this sort of replay. This dude can't even hold on to the ball.
It is a shame, guys. It is too bad. I mean, they had it. Yeah. I think the best excuses I've heard so far, and it's weird, it's like Packer fans are just not used to trauma. Like, they don't – I know that they've lost some games in the NFC Championship game, and they had the weird, like, kick a field goal thing last year, but, they've been propped up by Hall of Fame quarterbacks and it's title town, right? But the best excuses I've heard so far from Packer fans lashing out, the officials screwed the Packers. That's another one from our guy, Aaron Nagler at Cheesehead TV. And I like Aaron, too. Great content platform. But, if you hang on to your interception, the officials don't have to call it incomplete.
Yeah,
and
it's not
if
the
you
officials.
don't lead with a helmet into the face mask of Kirk Cousins, you won't have the other interception called back. Like, the Vikings caught breaks on those plays.
Right.
But, the Packers were the ones that shot themselves in the foot on those. That helmet to helmet was as textbook roughing the passer as you
It
could
was in his
possibly
face
get.
mask. Mm-hmm. That's a penalty.
And then the other one is the Packers were depleted with injuries. Yes, they were, but the Vikings are missing a Hall of Fame caliber pass rusher and one of the better interior defensive linemen in the NFL in Michael Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick Peterson's playing at probably 60%. He had to come out of the game to get his hamstring checked on again. The Vikings are also playing a backup center that's probably going to be their backup center again after his performance this week.
That's induced by the Vikings, unfortunately.
So let's not act like the Vikings were at full strength yesterday, too. So that's another fun excuse I keep hearing from Packer fans.
That they're well, you know what, too? That this game, to me, it's not that they beat the Packers. It's more so that they did things for a second consecutive game right themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what I am. So it's not oh, man, these games, a lot of games, especially now, because there's such a long list of guys hurt, are ugly and not attractive. But the Vikings did the right things. They did what they should do. That's all I care about at this point.
Let's hear from more Packer Vent Line, courtesy of our friends on The Fan in Milwaukee, the Green and Gold postgame show.
Go, Pack, go!
This game is far from on Darnell Savage.
Correct.
This game is on Aaron Rodgers. He had wide open people running across the middle of the field. What did he proceed to do? Throw the ball deep, throw the ball in, and throw the ball into dangerous spots. Darnell Savage should be the least of somebody's problems.
They're just Rodgers was pretty damn good on it.
Yeah, Rodgers was
One leg yesterday.
surgical. Classic Aaron Rodgers, to be honest.
I love the Rodgers haters, though. They always make me laugh.
I just need one more sip of Packer tears here. Just one more.
One
sip.
more.
Go, Pack, go!
Rodgers should have chucked down a lot more. That was just ridiculous. And if you look at the offense all year, the defense has carried this team, not Aaron Rodgers, period. He's not having a good year.
He should check down more.
He should check
Wow.
down more.
Amazing.
Oh, my God.
Bring John Kuhn back. I need some
That's
more
right.
fullback checkdowns to John Kuhn.
Little cynical Wallace,
That's what-
little. That's what
All
we need.
I know is the clip that we just saw, the still frame of Sheldon and Rodgers occurred on the field yesterday during the game when Aaron came and talked to Pat P, Sheldon, and then late in the game when we were waiting on, I believe, the review of the Savage play, he had a nice long conversation with Anthony Barr. So he was like talking to more guys in purple than on his own team. I wonder what that means.
He was talking to the Hennepin County Sheriff people in the tunnel for like 2 minutes in that last drive before the end of the first half.
About? Real estate prices.
He is. That's
What's
right.
it like here?
Yeah.
You know, where should I live? And Prairie, Egan, you know,
and how logistically he probably has to play a year in the AFC, so he's thinking about like maybe 2023 housing market. If you guys could just keep an eye on things.
Can I get a police escort to games? Of course, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yes, Mr.
Anything
Rogers.
you
You can get a police escort. Of course, you can. In fact, we will reserve one particular police officer just for you,
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Definitely, Mr. Rogers. All right, let's see if our guy Randy in Cottage Grove is alive after I'm sure he drank a couple shots of Yag after that win yesterday.